Going live now. Just getting everything situated so I can see everything going on here. All right. Looking good so far. I am still setting up. I am a bit behind here, but that's okay. That happens. I'm sure no one will hold it against me. It's an impromptu stream. If you hear a bunch of noises in the background, I've got a 3D print running. I'm printing a little riser for my laptop for upstairs. Should quiet down some of the fan noises. And I've also got a space heater running because it is freezing in this basement. Oh man, is it freezing in this basement. Right now I'm just taping down a little paper here, protecting my my workbench from the paints I'm gonna have out here. It's all just acrylics, you know, so it all washes off pretty easy, but you know, better to do this now than do a bunch of cleanup later. Alrighty, that's looking good. Got my stool ready to go, a bunch of brushes out here, and I should have my... I'm digging around for a few things in the background. You can't see me doing it, but I'm trying to find my Gundam pens. Here they are, because I'm going to give those a shot for the first time today. That'll be pretty cool. I've not tried those out before. All right, I think once I grab my paper towel roll, I think got everything I need. I wonder. So I should mention right off the top here, the whole workshop was redone while I was in Japan. So a lot of stuff was moved around. Typically everything makes a lot more sense where it is now. There are a few things that I don't even know where they are. So I'm still learning my own way around my own shop. My wife was kind enough to redo it all for me, so I'm certainly not going to complain about something where I didn't even have to do the work. All right, these are good. Let's just see. Oh, wow. Sorry, going through some boxes, finding stuff I didn't even know I still had anymore. All right, if you are just tuning in, if you've stuck around for the first 2.5 minutes of absolute nonsense here, I am the human monster truck, Perry Von Vicious. And I'm a professional wrestler and toy maker. And one of the things that I've made recently, I'm going to move this camera a little closer. Sorry for those prone to motion sickness. One of the things that I've been working on a lot lately are action figures of me. My very own figures, which, you know, every wrestler dreams of having. And frankly, I got sick of waiting. So, all right, that's looking pretty good. I think that's a good angle. All right, so I have here a box of spare parts of Perry figures. And we got to get those painted up because it's been a little while since I've done anything with these. I've got heads, I've got arms, I've got legs, I've got all kinds of parts that need some painting. And I'm hoping to fly through a lot of it here. The nice part is because of the gear I wear, I don't have to paint the arms or the torso. I really only need to paint legs and heads. I believe I have 5 spare figures in here, which means I should have 5 heads and 5 legs that need painting. Yeah, that'll be it. That's number 5 for the heads. And on the legs, I actually printed all these before Japan, knowing that I wouldn't really be able to bring them with me. You know, I was going to be there for quite some time. That meant a lot of space in the luggage, and as much as I'm sure the Japanese would have loved these, because I mean, let's be honest, what's not to love? This is pretty great. You know, I just I couldn't justify the space that it was going to take. You know, I needed clothes for working out. I needed clothes for every day. I needed nice clothes for going out to meals. I needed options. And then I needed multiple different footwear, and that, you know, I got big feet. It takes up some space. So it was going to be tough goings pretty much no matter what we did here. Okay, I just need one more thing before I can get started. And that is, I need some of my clamps. I'm going to grab a whole little selection of them here. bunch of different ones because I'm not sure what's going to work best for me. I'm going to grab some gloves. I'm sorry for the slow start here. I hope anyone who's watching is still watching. But yeah, everything takes a little bit of preparation. I did none of that today. I did none of the necessary preparation for any of this. So now I'm hunting around again, having had someone else who was kind enough to take care of doing the entire workshop for me. But then me not having any idea where anything is has put me at a distinct disadvantage here. I used to have a huge thing of popsicle sticks, and that would be really helpful right about now. Here we go. There they are. I knew they were around. All right. Cool. We are cooking now. Okie dokie, folks. I'm in the chair and we are ready to roll. All right. Taking a look at our setup here. Okay, everything looks good. I think we're ready to go. So I'm going to glove up and we are going to get started here. So I promised online that while I was doing this, I would do a little bit of some Q&A, and some folks were kind enough to send along some questions. I got names of folks who sent questions, and then I have some other ones where I didn't get the person's name because I was writing everything down too quick. So if you ask one of these and I don't credit you, my apologies. I hope you can forgive me. Let's see here. Yeah, that's going to work. Okay, cool. I'm checking out different ways I can set these so that they can dry once I'm good to go with them. I believe for these, I'm going to need to split these. I just need a way to set these things down so they won't fall over. All right. And when I upload this to YouTube, I am not going to shorten this part. I'm going to leave it awkward for everybody. I might mention when I post it up the timestamp to skip through if you want to get right to the part where I've actually got my life together. I wish I could skip to the part where I have my life together. All right, perfect. Just a little split ski on these. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. All right, I'm gonna do that to a couple of these. And then probably just snap them in half. Ooh, that's actually kind of perfect the way that broke. Perfect. All right. I'm just going to give these a little break here. Really, I'll show you what I'm working on here. Basically, all these little bits of broken popsicle stick that I have here. This is so that I can take a couple of these. They're going to go together like this, so that I can put this piece in between, just like that. So now it's held in place, and I can set the head on here to dry when the time comes. That's all. Just somewhere where I can set these little heads once they're ready to dry. That's the big concern first. I'll worry about these other pieces after. I've kind of got these for them, and the idea is I'm going to take these, kind of do one of these moves, and then they will dry like that. I might have to add an additional, it might take two, and that's all right. That doesn't really bother me. There, boom. Instant drying rack for both pieces here. So that's how we're going to work this. But I'm going to worry about the legs after. Right now I'm worried about the heads because they are going to give me the opportunity to use a fun new toy, and it's something I picked up in Japan. It is some sets of Gundam paint markers for sort of really fine work. And if you've seen my previous figures once they've been painted up, then you've definitely seen that the faces look I don't know, demonic, possessed, just weird, because the pupils end up really big. I'm not super skilled at painting miniatures, so I got to use workarounds, and these Gundam markers are I think going to be a great workaround. They do really fine details. I've seen some of the work that these Gundam model makers did when I was in Japan. You know, they have whole sections of the mall kind of dedicated to just Gundam, and they have whole displays of people's work. So I'm really hoping that these prove to be, knocking the camera cord around, that these prove to be a good investment. So you'll see here, I got this first set of Gundam markers, not a sponsor. These are, no one's ever a sponsor. These are the most expensive things I think I'm using today. Everything else, the clamps, my nippers, my paintbrushes, my paints, even the cups, all came from the Dollar Tree, hook up at the dollar store. You know, everything's cheap there, and everything, you know, these particular things, you don't need to go much more expensive except for this particular case. So, of course, these come with very little. All the directions you'll see here are mostly in Japanese. They do have them in English down below. And I'm just going to read. Before using, shake the marker with the cap on so that the ball inside mixes the ink. Be careful when opening the cap in case the ink fills up the cap. Oh boy. Okay. Push the tip of the marker against a piece of paper for several times until the ink comes out. Do not push the tip too hard, as the ink may drip. If the ink does not come out smoothly, repeat 1 and 2 as mentioned above. All right, so we're going to give this a shot, and I'm going to assume with this more fine tip marker, it's going to be very similar. Yeah, okay. All right, so there we go. We got the fine tip, that's going to be for the pupil, and I got this white marker that's going to be for the whites of my eyes. And I'm really hoping this ends up being a big boon here, because boy, I've had a rough go of it in the past, and I'm hoping to have a nicer result now. All right, like I said, I was going to answer some Q&A here. Before I get to that, I'm going to real quick, right up off the top, I say off the top, we are solidly 12 minutes in. I'm going to go ahead and drop a couple upcoming dates that I have. We got Blitzkrieg Pro presents Everything is All Right in Westfield, Massachusetts, Saturday, February 24th. Looking forward to that. They've announced some great stuff for that show already. All right, let's try this, pressing this down here and see how this does. I wonder if these being down here in the cold is going to affect how they work at all. Okay, so far I'm not getting a whole lot. Wait, there it is. Hey, look at that. Very nice. All right, let's see. After that, we have Friday and Saturday, March 8th and 9th, a double header. It is Pro Wrestling Grind presents Overkill in East Hampton, Massachusetts. The first night, Friday night, March 8th, I am going one-on-one in the main event for the Pro Wrestling Grind Grand Championship against the current champion, Mike Skyros. It's a match I asked for. It's a match the people asked for, and I am hoping to not disappoint. I want to come out of there Grand Champion. Again, that is 2 nights, Friday and Saturday, the 8th and 9th of March in East Hampton. And then finally, Blitzkrieg Pro in March, March 22nd, are going to be in Springfield, Massachusetts. Yet unnamed show and nothing announced for it just yet, but that is going to be, oh, that's not true. They announced they have hot sauce, so check that out. All right, here we go. We're getting in here for some of the first real test. You know what? Before I do that, I am not seeing it clearly enough, and I have another new toy I've been dying to use. So I'm breaking it out. I'm doing it, you guys. This has been a lot of me going off camera, but I think it's going to be worth it. Because I got these snazzy magnifying goggles, and I plan to make very good use of them right now. I've been waiting to use these. They got a little button so that they have some light that comes off the front. So I'm gonna give these a shot. Take my glasses off, set them aside, and we're gonna see if these help. All right. Oh, cool. Yeah, this might work. Just double checking that I'm still on screen here. All right. Yeah, it's a little messier than I'd like, but you know, this is, again, first try, and hey, you know, if you buy one of these awesome figures, you are getting something hand painted by the actual wrestler, so, you know, enjoy that. Pretty cool. All right. That's pretty good. Lose the glasses for just a sec. Grab a little piece of paper towel, and I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup here. Throw my regular glasses back on. There's a lot going on off screen that you can't see here. Again, this is just a very impromptu session here. I hadn't planned on a second live stream this week, and then the opportunity sort of presented itself for me, knowing that I wanted to get these painted up. All right, I'm switching these goggles out for a slightly less zoomed in lens because I was having to put that real close to my face to get it into focus. All right, let's see how this behaves now. All right, this is actually a lot better, I think. All right. All right, that one's gonna have to do for now. You know what? Well, it's just the eyes. You can just sit upright like that. All right, let's get a little more paint running through this guy. So yeah, I got a lot of really exciting shows coming up. Pro Wrestling Grind, Blitzkrieg Pro. And who knows, I could be popping up somewhere else at some point. You never know. I'm in talks with a couple different places. Hey, if there's a promotion you'd like to see me at, maybe something closer to where you live, let them know. Send them to my socials. I am at Perry Von Vicious on every platform. I am everywhere you want to be. And, you know, if you mention me to the right people, I might end up in a few more places. All right, we're calling that coat 1. These zoom-in goggles take a little getting used to. So I'm kind of working with that. The pen also is not nearly, I don't know how well you can see that. It's not quite as fine-tipped as I'd kind of hoped it would be. But I think it's going to be a big improvement. Especially as I get used to working with these. Hey, that's looking pretty good. Let's see how that looks on screen. Yeah, I think that's looking pretty good. Not quite as demonic as it had previously looked. I did make the eyes on this model very sort of like over the top round. So I may try to give them a little bit better shape on the version 2 when that comes out. All right. Yeah, you know what? As I'm getting used to these magnifying goggles, I am liking them a lot. Yeah. All right. Making some progress now. I'll show you now. This is what I'm looking like right now, which is just super goofy. I don't know if you could see that. Let me. Hello? Yeah, very goofy. But it's helping me see a little bit better, and that's important because these tiny details, man, they're easy to miss. All right, let's get a little more running out the end here. I keep knocking the camera with the back side of the pen, which to me is actually pretty funny. To all of you, it's probably very annoying. But I can assure you I'm not doing it on purpose. Oh geez, this This guy's all over the place. That's okay. We're going to work with that for now. I can do some cleanup in a bit. I actually wonder how much are these drying off, because it's possible some of the first ones I did are dry already. If that's the case, I really want to see how the pupils lay out. Oh boy, this one, yeah, this one's going to need another coat. That's a pretty light amount of white on there. So I'm going to hit that real quick. Yeah, that second coat is working pretty good. Yeah, that's looking a bit better. Okay. Let's see how the others are doing. Yeah, some of these are definitely going to need more than one coat, which is totally okay. Bring my close-up goggles back just for the light. Yeah, that's nice. I can really see what's going on there. Yeah, get that. All right. Looking pretty good now. This entire stream has been pure chaos, so in keeping with that, I'm going to hop to my first question, which was, sorry, I'm simultaneously reaching for a X-Acto blade, which people who've watched the stream before know when I start reaching for blades, you know, hide the kids away. I'm not great with them. Tend to do more damage to me than to whatever I'm actually trying to cut. But I'm just gonna, you can see there's a little bit of paint there that got away from me. I'm just gonna scrape that away lightly. Yeah, that's all it takes. Once you let it dry, just a nice, really light scrape with an X-Acto blade, and you can clean up those edges. That looks much, much better. Oh yeah, huge improvement there. All right, put the cap back on that so it can't attack me on its own. Yeah, that's gonna need another coat too. So my first question comes from @Tiresias, Abe Froman on Twitter, who asked me, are you into tabletop gaming? I get the vibe that you would enjoy Warhammer 40K. I gotta tell you, I definitely I've always come off as the type for tabletop gaming. I've heard that my entire life, and I have just never been into it. I don't really, it's weird. When I was a kid, I think it would have been a better fit. I didn't like to play games alone, video game or otherwise. And now as an adult, I really only do that kind of stuff alone. My wife would love to play some games with me, and I'm never really in the mood for it. The only time I ever even play video games is for my stream, which makes me feel like a little bit of a phony. But I do enjoy those games. And when I was a kid, I only played multiplayer games. Never played a one-person game, really, ever. And which is interesting, because now as an adult, I pretty much exclusively play video games alone. Part of that is that my wife and I have very different taste in video games. She grew up only playing one-player games. So she doesn't have a ton of, outside of like Mario Kart, she doesn't have a lot of interest in playing games with me. And for me, I grew up mostly playing racing games and wrestling games. Big shock there, huh? And yeah, I don't really hang out with people, as Rip and Delmy will tell you. I'm really not a terribly social person. Which, I mean, you know, if you're a regular watching the streams here, then you've seen me alone in the basement 3D printing, and you've seen me alone in front of a computer screen playing video games, so you probably could have guessed that. So no, I've never really been into tabletop gaming at all. Not when I was younger and not now. It certainly does seem like the kind of thing I would be into. I am... forgive the use of it. I say it as a term of endearment, not a term of derision, but I'm definitely the type of nerd that would be into that. it's just never been a part of my world. All right, next question, because this one's going to take a little bit to answer because there's a lot for me to consider. Comes from Ethan Scott 207, also known as Ethan Scott, the ring announcer for Pro Wrestling Grind and Let's Wrestle and Limitless Wrestling, a number of great companies. He's the ring announcer. You can see him all over New England. Great guy. Ethan asked me, what, and I'm adding in parentheses here, what Disney ride do you think is super underrated? This is a great question. I love this question because I've got a lot of thoughts on this. First of all, I think most of the rides that people are really psyched about and people really get excited about are not my jam. I enjoy all the rides at the parks. I don't think there's a single ride I don't like. But there are rides that I prefer over others, and they're almost never the ones that you hear people getting excited about. I'm looking forward to Tron, but it's not my kind of ride. I enjoyed the new Guardians coaster in Epcot. It's not my kind of ride. That's just the reality of it. When it comes to what rides I think are underrated, the top of the list for me is not really a ride. It's actually an attraction. It's an Epcot. It's called the American Adventure. It is a, I think, 45-minute animatronics show. And what's special about it, let's see, I guess I better get started on some of these. All right. So for these, I'm going to come back to the American Adventure in just a second. So if you're dying to hear the Disney talk, I promise you it is coming. I used to have a couple sleeves of very small paper cups, and I did not bother looking for them before I got started here. I know they're around somewhere. So for right now, I have, this is just acrylic paint literally from the Dollar Tree. And I am just giving it a good shake. I'm going to get in here and hit these knee pads and the boots. They're going to be black. I believe this series I'm going to do a slightly different color scheme on than previous. I'm going to probably aim for something closer to maybe my Gravedigger color scheme for those trunks, if you've seen me in those. So the American Experience. It's a 40-plus minute animatronics show set in the American Pavilion, way at the furthest end of the World Pavilions in Epcot. And what I love about it is that it doesn't seem like an exciting thing. It seems kind of dumb, kind of dopey. And it is actually an incredible feat of Imagineering. It has probably the most animatronics of anything that they've made. That black's looking a little gray. That's okay, though. No judgments. All right, I need to grab a brush here. So I think this one's probably going to do the trick. And before I get too far into that, I'm going to put some water in another cup so that I can clean it off when it's time. I just bring down a mason jar of water when it's time. All right, that ought to do. And then I'm going to keep a paper towel nearby to wipe it off on. You know, this is painting always takes more space and more items than you think it does. As I'm quickly covering every inch of space that I have to work with here. All right, set this out of the way. Keep this close. And I'm actually gonna release this guy first because I'm gonna need him. I'm going to need these clamps to put this up on so it can dry. All right. So the American Experience has pretty much I believe it has the most animatronics out of any show or ride that Imagineering has created. And it has, I think, also maybe the most scenes, and they come to you. You don't go to them. It's not like a ride where you're being brought around into different scenes and being shown to animatronics that stay in one place. You're staying in one place. You're in sort of theater seats, and those seats don't move. Instead, underneath the attraction, on essentially what's kind of a large train system, are all the scenes and all the animatronic characters, and they get carted in and out every time the show happens. The show happens, I believe, once an hour all day while Epcot is open, and the show takes 40 minutes, so it's very little reset time. And all of that stuff is just being brought in and then brought right back out. And there are animatronics in it that walk upstairs and across stages. They sing songs. There's projections. It is an amazing feat when you take it in, and something that I'm a huge fan of. And I wish people really appreciated more. I think it's something that gets skipped over a lot. I know my buddy Levi was just over there and didn't even know that that attraction was there. It's, you know, it's tucked away in the back corner of one of the countries, and I mean, of all the countries to visit over there, America is probably the least interesting because, you know, we're already in America. We live here. Whereas, you know, visiting the Norway pavilion, that's kind of cool. I might not ever make it to Norway in my life, but I can at least get a little sample, you know. All right, so there's one boot and one knee pad all set. I'm kind of like fading off camera as I do this. I'm actually gonna readjust this so that it's a better chance that y'all can see. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna try to work in camera. My apologies on that. So yeah, the American Pavilion is one that jumps to mind really quick. Asking about an underrated attraction is a complicated question because there are some amazing attractions I could go on about, but I don't think they're underrated. I think people do appreciate them, and that's tough. You know, you can talk all day about the work of Mark Davis when it comes to rides like the Jungle Cruise or Pirates of the Caribbean. Boy, I am making a mess of this all over the place here. I'm gonna have to come back in with that X-Acto blade and do some cleanup because I am getting stuff everywhere. All right. You can talk all day about the work of Mark Davis on things like Jungle Cruise, Pirates of the Caribbean, Enchanted Tiki Room, Haunted Mansion. But, you know, there's also contributions of like Mary Blair over on It's a Small World. Everyone likes to complain about the Small World song and, oh, I got trapped on the ride. Yeah, whatever. Grow up. It's part of being there. Have fun. That song is a classic. The Sherman Brothers are saints, and they wrote you an amazing song. So just lighten up, all right? And then, you know, there's other rides that to me are absolutely underrated. I think things like Mr. Toad's Wild Ride is underrated, and that's, you know, a very old ride. That's certainly pretty dated. But I love it. I can't get enough of it when I get the opportunity. And you can only go on it in California. They don't have it in Florida anymore. So, you know, something like that. And then there's rides that I think were underrated because obviously they had to have been, or else Disney wouldn't have replaced them. I think Maelstrom, which used to be the boat ride in Norway, they never should have gotten rid of that. I understand that Frozen is a huge cash cow for them. So it just made sense, and it was in the right part of the park that they could do it, and they could re-theme it pretty easily, and it wasn't going to break the bank for them, but it broke my heart. So didn't break the bank, but you broke my heart, guys. All right, and I'm going to try to see if I can find a clever way to clamp this up where maybe I only use one of these, and then the other one can be one of these. Yeah, there we go. That's going to work real nice to just sit there and dry. All right. And that leaves me enough. I can do another one here. Good. All right. I'm double checking my gloves, make sure there's no extra paint on them somewhere that's going to gum everything up. I think I'm looking good. So yeah, as far as the most underrated ride, I'm going to throw it out there. I'm going to say that maybe my pick is the People Mover. Now, my take on that is a little unfair. I am a California parks kid. You wouldn't guess that with me having been born and raised in Massachusetts. But the first park I ever went to was Disneyland proper over in California. And in the time that I've been going to the parks, my first trip, I was, I think, 13. The People Mover did not exist in California. Eisner had changed it at the behest of his son, who wanted more thrill rides. his 13-year-old son. His son was my age, but clearly a lot dumber than I was. He wanted thrill rides, and his dad said, "Yep, that's what the kids want, because that's what my kid wants." And they turned the People Mover into the rocket rods, and that, more or less, as I understand it, destroyed the People Mover track and was not a popular ride. It broke down too much. I believe it lasted less than a year, and they were never able to reopen the People Mover because of the damage and the stress that ride put on the tracks. So the People Mover tracks in California have just sat, a dead, defunct part of Tomorrowland, ever since the 90s, which is truly heartbreaking, because that ride is a blast. Now, when I go to Florida and I get to go on the People Mover, it feels like I'm brought back in time. It feels like, yeah, this is a ride from when these parks were new that you not only hasn't changed, but you don't need to change. It's just fun to get a themed ride around a whole section of the park where you're sort of in world and you're given a view of what this all was supposed to be. You know, the narration talks about Walt's eye to the future and his development of Epcot. And I think that's just so cool. You know, you get to go inside Space Mountain, which is cool, especially if you've ever been in there while Space Mountain is down. You get to see everything with the lights on, which is pretty cool. There's videos online, you know. It spoils a lot of, it's a little bit of a spoiler. So if you don't want how the ride works spoiled for you, if you just want it to be the roller coaster in the dark, just leave it at that. Don't go look it up. But if you're like me and you're an Imagineering nerd and you feel like, they'd have to do a lot more than that to spoil a classic ride, go for it. Go check those videos out. But yeah, the People Mover. Basically, when my wife and I go to Florida, we are always rope dropping Magic Kingdom's Tomorrowland, because, and I'm just going to say it, remember, I am a Disneyland kid. I am a California Parks kid. But their Tomorrowland is better. The one in California desperately needs to be fixed up, cleaned up, and updated. There's practically nothing there. The things that are there haven't changed in 20 years. It's kind of a bummer. It's still beautiful and has an amazing soundtrack that plays in it. My wife and I will just sit and listen to that forever, but yeah, it's really, it's not what it could be. And that's disappointing, because, we know Disney's capable of more. So yeah, that's, Ethan, I hope that answer is good for you. My most underrated ride, or my favorite ride that I think is terribly underrated, probably the People Mover. And you can only ride it at Magic Kingdom in Florida. I actually don't know if they have a People Mover in the international parks. I hope so. For their sake, I hope they do. That would be cool. All right, let me get this guy up and drying, and then we can take another look at our heads and see where we're at with those. All right, get this on. Yeah, that's looking nice. All right. That's safely out of the way. Looking good. Move these for now. Let's take a look at these guys and see if they need any cleanup. Yeah, this could use a little bit of cleanup, but the white's looking good, I think. So I'm going to go back to my X-Acto blade here, and I'm just going to, anywhere that I don't want white. This is weird, because you don't usually get to do a lot of this with painting, but with acrylic on plastic, as long as you're very light with the blade, you can scrape away what you don't want. Usually painting is very much an additive medium, but I'm getting to work a little bit subtractive here. So, usually you would mask these up, but of course, these are very small details, and that could be very difficult to do. All right. That's coming clean. Good, good. Yeah. Yeah, I think these are going to look pretty good. There was a couple of these I felt really got away from me on the last pass, but boy, as they've dried and as I'm getting in here to do a little bit of cleanup, they're looking pretty darn good. So pleased with that. All right, I am going to do more Q&A in just a sec. Right now my eyes need to be on what I'm doing. The last time you ever want to multitask when you're working with any kind of tool is when that tool is a cutting tool. Whether it's a drill or a saw, or in this case an X-Acto blade, you really want your full attention to be with what you're doing. Take it from me, I've definitely cut myself pretty good on stream before. I covered it up as best I could, but people definitely knew something was up. You won't see anything like that today. This is pretty minor blade work. I'm working very lightly because just cleaning up paint. I don't have to cut through anything. I just have to scrape some little bits away. All right, those look good. That might be some of the last, well, I'm gonna have to do a little cleanup on one of those legs where I smeared a little bit of paint, but you know, such is life, or as the French say, such is life. All right, my next question comes from at Kumohara, Billy Kumo, who just writes, thoughts on this bad boy? And then he has a link to the Disney I'm gonna butcher this pronunciation. The Disney Chogokin Super Magical Combined King Robo. You gotta look this thing up. It's on my Twitter where Billy was kind enough to reply and mention it. It's a $380 robot toy that appears to be a whole bunch of the Disney characters combining Megazord style. My thoughts on it are this is great and weird, and I love it, and I don't get it, and I can't think of a bigger endorsement than that. I love weird stuff I don't fully understand, and stuff that others don't fully understand. I think it's great to do bizarre stuff like this. I don't understand it in any way, and I love that. All right, I'm opening this little paint pen for the first time. Ooh, this is nice. Now I'm going to try something on this first one, because if I don't like it, I can either fix it or even reprint the head. And I'll show you down here. I don't want to use this nice marker for it. I'll use this dry erase marker that happens to be in reach here. So on the old Hasbro figures, right, you would have an eyeball, and it would be painted white. And within it, they would sort of have this dark line toward the top, and then it would just come down like a little swoop like that, and that would be your eye. I kind of want to see if I can mimic that here, because it looked really good on those figures. And since this is styled to be like the Hasbro figures, why not emulate that a bit? So I am gonna have to throw on the the cheaters here and see if I can see it a little bit closer. Oh yeah, okay, all right. I'm gonna lose a glove here because I can't hold that pen. This is, you're getting to see the best of Old Man Perry in action here. I'm using special zoom in lights. I'm having to change things because I can't keep a hold of stuff, so. Come right along the top just like this, and then I want to, oh, that's not what I wanted. Actually, that's looking pretty good from a distance like that. That looks pretty good. Yeah, I am going to give this another shot in a minute here and paint over it, but I don't know, actually. I've certainly seen worse. I might leave that and see if I can get the other side to match, and then we might just be good. Okay, that's good. And let's get right in here. I don't know, this is pretty promising. Oh, I got one edge got away from me there a little bit. Yeah, these are a little wonky. I may redo these, but I mean, really though, from a distance, that's It's not so bad. Yeah, all right. Well, we're going to chalk that up as a good first attempt. And I'm going to see what we get on another one here. It's possible these may need to dry a little bit more because it's not wanting to write on the surface much. Well, that actually looks pretty good. Hey, you know, I'm really surprising myself here. That looks great. Ha ha. Success. All right. That's one down, ready to dry. I'm going to leave that one overnight because that looks really good. Get it real dry before I move on to any beard work on that one. All right. Let's see about another one. See if we can keep the streak alive here. Yeah. This is a huge improvement. If anyone saw how these looked previously, this is a huge improvement. Very humanizing. some of the old ones, boy, I was not quite as adept as I am now, and I did not have the tools I had. These Gundam markers turn out to be a great investment. You know, Japan had a lot of very cool stuff, and the Gundam stuff ranks among the top of the cool stuff that I saw, for sure. When I was in California, one of my wife's coworkers asked me, you know, what was the coolest thing you did in California? And obviously the answer was the wrestling. That's the coolest thing I did. Living out a dream I've had for 16 years is definitely the coolest thing I did. But, you know, seeing the 60-foot tall Gundam is a darn close second, let me tell you. All right. See how this is going to go. Yeah, boy, these require a steady hand, but it is a much better process than what I was doing before. Yeah, that one's not actually. Yeah, that one's pretty good. All right. So that's 4 that are good. Let's see. You know what? That first one that I didn't like as much, I think is actually looking pretty good. Yeah, these all look pretty good. I'm going to leave all of those to dry overnight. I'm exceedingly happy with how those turned out. That is excellent. What a fine investment that Gundam marker turned out to be. All right, let's see. There we go. Turn the cheater glasses off. I don't need to zoom in for the rest of this work here. These are looking pretty dry over here, and let's see if they need a second coat. They're definitely still drying. It looks like the one coat may do it here. That black came out really solid. All right. So I'm going to leave that to dry, and while I do, I'm going to have some notes here. I'm going to flip to my next page of questions from all the fine folks that responded earlier. Yeah, I think this one's good too. All right, I'm going to leave that up there. And I'm going to grab a couple more clamps and I'm going to answer another question. This one's not really a question, just a little message of support. I got a message from @ringside Kenzie, also known to many as Mrs. Redacted. Says, Steve and I really enjoyed your last stream, so we're very excited for this one. Thank you, guys. I'm so happy that you both watched the stream and that you enjoyed it. You know, it's always up in the air to me. I never know what people want to see on these things. It was just, you know, someone told me at some point, you should really stream. Try to stream. It's a great way to connect with your audience. And, you know, I have projects I work on, and for a couple years now, my wife has been telling me, you know, maybe you should play some more video games once in a while, because I never do, just to relax, because I was very stressed at some what we in wrestling refer to as shoot jobs, and she essentially said, you know, maybe you ought to find a way to relax. So she bought me a VR headset, and then with my good laptop that I use for doing all this 3D modeling work, we put Steam on there because it's capable of running some really high-end games, and it's been really nice. I've been able to discover a few games I like, and yeah, it's just a whole world I hadn't given a lot of thought to in a long time. So pretty cool. All right, get a couple more of these legs done so we can get some boots and knee pads painted up. All right, how's this paint looking? We got enough here? I might need a little. Well, it might be enough. A little bit on these goes a pretty long way. All right. So the next question after that, this is one that's going to take me a while. So I'm gonna set the paintbrush down while I read this one. This is from @lawnmower-pranks. My buddy Junk Knuckles, who I met going to Hot Wheels Monster Trucks Live quite some time ago out in the New York area. Met me and Rip there. Asks, if you got to design with an unlimited budget a monster truck theme park, what would it look like? And I have to tell you, I love this question. First of all, I have no business designing a theme park, but I'm glad that you want me to. You know, I think as far as what it would look like, you know, it would be a real process. I think there's a lot of things to consider. Where should it go, you know, in a particular state? And then what are you considering when you try to think of what state that should be? You know, Disney World and Disneyland didn't end up in Florida and California by mistake. You know, they're there for a lot of good reasons, and they've sustained for a lot of good reasons, mostly the weather. You know, when you have a theme park in like New England or the Midwest, you spend a big part of the year shut down because of weather. And, you know, every bit of the year when you're shut down, you have employees who can't work. You can't make any money from people coming to the hotels or the park itself. You know, and that doesn't work long term. You know, you've seen it. I mean, how many big theme parks in places that are not California and Florida have we seen come and go over the years? I mean, where I live, I can think of, you know, at least Whalum Park that I loved as a kid and just doesn't exist anymore. And, you know, then there's other ones, you know, you some that are kind of famous, you know, action park, places like that close sometimes for pretty good reason that have nothing to do with the weather. So that's something to consider. You know, I think, you know, outside of Florida and California, as far as just weather and such, Texas is a pretty good candidate. Nevada, maybe. You know, there's other things to consider after that. You know, having an international airport close by, having a place where you could get a lot of land so that you could have hotels that you can kind of control. You know, Disney was no dummy. After things went sideways in California, because he didn't know how big a deal it was going to be, when they went to Florida, he bought most of that land under a secret name. He had people that no one knew were working with him go and buy the land. And that's because he knew that if they knew it was him and they knew he was putting a park in, they would jack their prices way up. And he, you know, he was a shrewd businessman. When he wanted to be, when it was about something he cared about. When it wasn't about something that he cared deeply about, he let it be Roy's problem. Roy was always the better businessman and sort of the money guy. He's the reason everything was able to happen. Walt was the idea guy. Roy was the one who made things actually take place. What a team. But as far as my vision of a monster truck theme park, it would be pretty tough because there's some copyright things to think about, you know. Obviously, you want Gravedigger to be a part of it. You know, you want Monster Jam. Monster Jam's a big part of monster truck history. It's got to be a part of the story. It's got to be there. But they won't do business with other companies. And similarly, you know, how do you do it without Bigfoot? You know, that would be crazy. That's Hall of Presidents without George Washington. It just doesn't make sense. And you know, that has its complications because Bigfoot will not work with the folks over at Feld. So there's some difficulties there. Now, when you bring the idea of unlimited budget into the conversation, money talks. Everybody has a price, as the $1 Million Man used to say. I think we could get Bigfoot and Feld to work together. Then you want to bring in your independent teams. You know, you want some history of the monster trucks. I think, you know, sort of like a Hall of Presidents attraction, I would want something that was a monster truck history attraction, and I would want it to be run by the folks at the Monster Truck Hall of Fame and Museum based out of Indiana. I would want them to come in and help put it together and curate it. And I'm not sure exactly what that looks like. Do you have a small arena and you have a bunch of restored trucks and even like some clones like what Terry Woodcock is making of Rollin' Thunder, you know, for example? And, you know, you bring them all through. They do some classic runs like they did back in the day, you know, sort of make it a work like pro wrestling where they come in and, you know, we have Return of the Monster Trucks, the finals, and we see Awesome Kong 2 versus Bigfoot, Bigfoot 4, I believe it was. And, you know, you watch them go head to head through the mud and everything, and Bigfoot wins every time, you know, is that part of it, you know, or is it literally just a drive through? You drive the trucks through and you talk about the changes in technology over the years and the, you know, I think you'd have to, if you're doing that kind of exhibit, you'd have to talk about the split between Bigfoot and Monster Jam. And then, you know, then you'd end up with your sort of fractured history after that, where you have your Hot Wheels tour, you have your Monster Jam shows, you know, you talk about this whole thing of the Monster Jam folks trying to make Dennis Anderson seem like the Bob Chandler, which he's not. He's great. Who's ever going to say a bad word about him? But, you know, he's not the original. He's not the first. He's not the king. There can be only one, and it is Bigfoot. So, you know, how do you present that in a way that makes everyone happy? I think there's ways to do it because, you know, certainly no one's going to doubt or question the contributions that Dennis Anderson and some of these other drivers and creators had in the sport. But I'm getting bogged down on a single attraction. I think you would have to have some trucks that are just always there. Whether they are clones of current trucks, clones of old trucks, you'd probably have multiple stadiums. I think you would have to have a whole section of the park that was just for tractor pulls, because, you know, and mud runs, because that's, you know, the history between that and monster trucks is just so rich. You'd have to have ride trucks, but you'd also have to have rides. You know, you'd have to have I think seeing something sort of like the Radiator Springs Racers ride, but for monster trucks, maybe base it around the Bigfoot and the Muscle Machines cartoon from the 80s. That would be pretty cool. You know, again, this is unlimited budget. I might just hire Disney out to help me out with some of it, you know? Why reinvent the wheel? Why not just work with the best right off the bat? All right, let's get this guy up to dry, because we are closing in on what's going to have to be the end of this stream, because all this stuff needs to dry before I can do much more on them. All right, I'm going to set this one back here, and I got one more set of legs, which means I need to grab 2 more clamps. Okie dokie. Last set of legs, and then we're going to call it a stream. And I'm going to go clean all this up and get editing some thumbnails for this so I can go up on YouTube. This is going to have to be multi-parts, or I might not stream finishing these up. I think I've painted on stream before. I'm mostly here to talk nonsense and answer some questions. I'll tell you what's not nonsense, though, is the shows I have coming up soon. Once again, if you heard me talking about this earlier, Blitzkrieg Pro presents Everything Is All Right in Westfield, Massachusetts on Saturday, February 24th. That's going to be a great show. I have no idea if I'm actually even on the show yet or not, but, you know, here's hoping. I am a Blitzkrieg regular, and I am right in the area. So even if I'm not booked, who knows? You might just see me hanging out, helping out some friends, you know, because we're a family over at Blitzkrieg. Just like we are over at Pro Wrestling Grind. Pro Wrestling Grind presents Overkill 2024. That is coming Friday and Saturday, March 8th and 9th. That is a doubleheader, the first doubleheader in Grind history. Come on out to it. Make it a success. Maybe we'll do more of them. I think you will want to be there because the lineup is stellar. They've only just started announcing talent. I will say night one, I am challenging the Grind Grand Champion for his championship when I take on Mike Skyros in the main event of night one of Overkill. Hoping to walk out of that as champion, and have, you know, who knows? Maybe my first defense will be the next night. I don't know yet. But there is some incredible talent. They've already started announcing. We got your homie the Nomi, Gabby Forza will be there. We got Warhorse, Jake Parnell, who is, if you haven't seen him since he's gone through a bit of a transformation, it is I think I said on Twitter, it is a stark contrast to the Warhorse we all knew and loved, but he is focused in a way that I've never seen before, and it makes him very compelling in the ring. It is, you can't deny it, whether you like what he's doing or you don't. It's hard to not watch. You have to watch. And there's going to be all kinds of other great talent there as well that I can't speak to because they have not announced yet, and I, you know, don't want to overstep my boundaries here. And then after that, March 22nd, it is a Friday, Blitzkrieg Pro in Springfield, Massachusetts. Once again, right in my own backyard here. A yet unnamed show with, so far, I believe, no talent announced, but this is going to be a big one. This is at a big spot, and it's going to be a big show, and I'm sure they will have more details on that at Everything Is All Right on February 24th. So be sure to check those out. Now, as I'm getting closer to wrapping up this painting here, as far as the Monster Truck theme park, boy, you know, there's so much to consider. I think it sounds like such a cool idea. I know they've done some similar stuff. Monster Jam has sponsored sort of a Thunder Alley thing, I think they called it, at Six Flags in a couple different locations in the summers where they have some trucks on display. They've got some sort of VR experiences and, you know, some walkthroughs, some photo opportunities. And that's really cool. It's sort of like a huge pit party, you know? And I know I'm hoping to get out to some shows this year. I know Monster Jam is coming through Worcester. They're coming to Hartford, and then of course they'll be out in Foxborough at Gillette Stadium. That's the big show, and a couple of those. Tom Mintz will be there. It's his last year. He's retiring, and I would love to see him race one more time. So who knows? I might make it out to some of those. That would be pretty cool. And then there's other tours coming around. I know the Overkill or Overdrive Monster Truck Tour will be in Greenfield again this year, and I love to support, you know, monster trucks happening that close to where I live. And I think, yeah, I may get out to that. There's also going to be a Hot Wheels Monster Trucks Live is going to be in Amherst and a few other places. Be cool to get to all of those. All right. So I have these painted as far as I can paint them. I have to let them dry before I can really do much of anything else. I used to set these in front of a space heater to let them dry, but it's so cold in this basement that I don't think it would help a whole lot. But to review sort of some of our progress here, I got these legs where the knee pads and the boots are nice and painted. I'm going to clean some of this up the same way I did before. In fact, I could probably do it right now with the X-Acto blade. And you'll see this is just going to start coming right off here. It's just shaving away that little bit of paint. Yeah. And you can see if I go back and forth enough times with this, this is all just going to come right off. And then I hit the whole thing with some clear coat later. It'll be like it never happened. You won't even be able to tell that these little knife strokes are there. Oh yeah, I mean, I can sit here and fiddle with this on camera all day, but that probably doesn't make for terribly compelling internet video viewing. I mean, certainly I would watch someone do it, but I am a different kind of nerd than most. All right, that's going to need a little bit more cleanup later, but I'm not going to get too finicky with it, as not all the paint is totally dry yet, so could just make things worse before they get better. Once again, got some legs painted up here. Those are looking pretty good. Got some heads done. These eyes are infinitely better than how they had looked before. And yeah, I'm going to be coming back probably in the next day or two. Do a little bit more cleanup on some of that. Paint up the beard and the hair. Paint up the trunks. Who knows? Maybe I'll do another live stream for those. Another impromptu one. And then I'll be able to clear coat everything and assemble. And I will have 5 more figures. This is probably my last run of Series 1 of the Perry Hasbros. These are the ones that have my sort of, you can see them on the bodies here. I'll bring it over into the camera. Have the lightning bolts on the front and just the vicious across the back. I'm working on a new head sculpt that'll be slightly different, a little bit more updated. And also working on a new body style. You know, sort of update for the way my trunks look now. I've kind of changed the look. I don't do the lightning bolts so much anymore now. I do more the Gravedigger with the flames. So yeah, I'm going to be working on some of that, and this will probably be the last run of these. So if you do not have a Series 1 Perry, I recommend that you act quickly. You can send me a DM on any social media or even leave a comment here, and I will tell you how you can order yours. And otherwise, you will see them on a merch table at a show very soon. I'm just going to clean myself off here while I'm on camera. But yeah, the Gundam markers, I can't recommend highly enough. Those worked great. Everything else you've seen me use here today is Dollar Tree. So yeah, no complaints. Everything came out great. And yeah, we will talk again soon. I will stream again before you know it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching on YouTube. Thank you to the few folks who joined in on the live. Thanks to everyone who sent me questions. Blitzkrieg Pro and Pro Wrestling Grind shows coming up soon. We'll see you there.